Fabulous. Thank you so much. And Mona, can I just say, I know you're off camera and off mic, but thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. It was fascinating. And I was furiously scribbling notes this end because I'm a firm believer that we're all students first. And here we are, all teachers, and trying to teach and help everyone and serve at the highest level. But fundamentally, we're all students of this game, right? And we learn from everyone. And I always make sure that when I'm working with clients, that that's the first thing I tell them, that it doesn't matter where you are on this journey. It doesn't matter where you're starting from, whether you're way behind or way in front, you always have something of value to give. Always have something of value to give, whether that's to the person teaching you or coaching you or mentoring you or other people. It's really irrelevant. If you bring your true, authentic self to any interaction, you will be teaching as well as learning. And I think that's very, very important to understand. I actually call it the white belt mentality. You know, in martial arts, the very best martial artists never lose that learning mentality, that white belt mentality, no matter what color belt they go forward on to achieve. And I just want to start with you. I mean, this could go either way. It really could. I'll give you the real very short Cliff Notes background, so you know who I am and where I'm coming from. But this isn't really about me. This is about me just delivering as much value to you as I can in the next 30 minutes or so. So I'm Paul. I'm from South London, but I'm currently living in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex, which isn't a million miles from Joanna, over in Canvey, I think. But I was a former professional footballer who became a strength coach, that led to me becoming a mindset coach, which has led me becoming a reverend, yes, an ordained minister, and a degree holder in metaphysical science. I've trained as a scientist, quantum theory, so I have the quantum side of things, the hardcore science side, the metaphysical side, the philosophical side of it, and I can even go to the woo-woo spiritual theological side should you wish. So there will be a mix of all that in what I'm about to bring to you. Any questions along the way, then just fire them at me, and I'm happy to answer them. But I'm going to start just as I start when I'm faced with any client or any talk, and that is that I don't want you to believe anything I say. Now, let me repeat that. I do not want you to believe anything I say. What I tell you, what I share with you tonight, is my understanding of what I call truth with a capital T. This is what I've come to understand as how this incredible, amazing universe of ours works and our place in it. But it's what I've discovered. It's what I've learned off some amazing, incredible, wonderful teachers throughout the years in some nearly 30 years of study. You need to take on board what people say and then run it through your filter. You need to run it through your study, and you need to come up with your version of truth, what rings true for you. Because let me tell you something, at the end of the day, the person who will affect your results, the person who will get you living that kind of life, that high end, high vibration life that you want to live, is you. It's only you. It only can be you, no matter how good we are at what we do. And trust me, we're good at what we do. No matter how good, the person that gets the result for you is you. And as a result, we spoke about guarantees earlier. How about you be your own guarantee? You do the work, you do the due diligence, you put in the effort which is needed. And understand there's a big difference between effort and force. Effort is a consistent, persistent showing up and doing the necessary work. And it doesn't have to be an awful lot. As we spoke about earlier, it can be 1% more than you did the day before. Just 1%. And any of you, no matter where you are right now, can improve by 1%. You know, years ago, I often go off on tangents, so I apologize for that. I'm about to go off that way. Years ago, I did some work writing strength programs for Team GB for the Olympic squad. This was way before 2012. And I had the opportunity to watch Team GB, the cyclists in operation. And it was when Dave Brailsford, Sir Dave Brailsford as he is now, first was involved in the cycling program for the Olympic squad. And before he came along, we were pretty much at the rear, at the back. Our cyclists never medaled, never broke records, were pretty much the laughing stock of world cycling. And Brailsford was incredibly intuitive and intelligent. And he knew that he had to go from here to here and that there was this huge gap. And he also knew that focusing on this gap, this huge gap, was going to create too many problems, was going to create too much resistance, was going to have people focusing on the fact that they weren't where they needed to be. So there was this lack and limitation and a gap that was just too far to bridge. So what did he do? Genius. He made them improve by what he called marginal gains. So every single aspect of their training, every single aspect of their lives, both in training and outside, was micromanaged to the most incredible amount that in every area they improved just 1%. So could they get 1% better nutrition? Could they get 1% better training in the gym? Could they get 1% better gearing on their bikes? All this stuff, could they practice 1% better hygiene so they didn't come down with colds, so on and so forth. And bit by bit by bit, they built on this process, this foundational process of just simple improvements along the way. And the rest is history. As you know, we've dominated cycling now for 12 years maybe. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. But I just want to roll back a little bit, come back from that little tangent that we've been on. And I just want to give you the secret, the real secret. I know the secret will be mentioned many times this evening, but let's jump straight in and give you the real secret as I see it. If you want to have the kind of life that you dream of and you desire, you need to do one thing. And the reason that people don't succeed often is because they're unable to do this one thing. And if you can do this one thing, and you know who you are really, and you know what you're capable of, and you know how this universe works, you can do exactly what it is you want. Now, they are big, grandiose claims, right? And I can make those because they're not my claims. I'm just a vessel for the message for you this evening. But let me tell you what the true secret is. Are you ready? You want to know? Okay. The true secret is simply to love unconditionally. You see, unconditional love is the highest vibration you can practice. And when you're vibrating at the highest possible vibration, you open up the quantum field, this incredible, infinite, powerful field of potentiality. You open up the highest echelons of vibration in there and attract to you those like vibrations. And if you are vibrating at the highest level you can possibly vibrate, guess what like vibrations you're going to attract to you? That's right. High level vibrations. That means that you will be living a high level life. And it is as simple as loving unconditionally. But you know what the issue around that is? That we place conditions on things. We live in an existence, a life, if you will, of conditions. I'll do this if you do that. I can only have this because I'm this. I don't trust you because of this. We place conditions on things. And it's the conditions that drop our levels of vibrational frequency, our harmony, if you like. And as a result, we feel resistance, we feel lack, we feel we're not deserving, we feel we're not lucky, we feel we don't come from the right neighborhood, we don't have the right parents, we don't have the right education. They're just stories that you tell yourself that keep you from knowing who you truly are. Now, did you know that some 3,000 years ago, King Solomon, one of the richest people to live in the ancient world, if not the richest, the most wealthiest, the most powerful, king of the Babylonians, one of the most advanced races to ever grace planet Earth, said, "In all thy knowing, know thyself." Whoa. In all thy knowing, know thyself. Do you know who you are? If I met you and said, "Who are you?" what would you say to me? Would you say your name? Would you say your gender? Would you say your job title? What would you say? But you're none of those. You're not your name. What if you get married and change your name? What if you change your name by deed poll? What's the right name? Who's the real you? What if you change your title? I was a Mr. Now technically I'm a Reverend. Let me rephrase that before give myself a slap. When I pass this PhD program I'm on, I'll be Dr. Reverend Dr. Paul Webb. But is it Mr., is it Reverend, is it Doctor? You see, they're just labels, job titles, labels. That's not who we are. So you might say, I'm this physical body, but are you? 2,500 years ago, a Greek philosopher named Heraclitus said you cannot step in the same river twice. Now, he may well have been talking about the fact that a river flows and it changes constantly. He may not have known that cells in the body change at an incredibly fast rate. 2 million red blood cells a second, 250 to 500 days for a completely new liver. I think it's about 7 weeks for a new skin, completely new skin. And I think it's something like 7 to 10 years for a completely new skeleton. So in 7 to 10 years, you aren't even the same physical person you were. So who are you? These are really fundamentally deep philosophical questions that if you want to create this incredible life that you want to live, you need to be able to answer. Because how do you know what you want if you don't know who you are? If you don't know who you are, you're living someone else's interpretation of who you think you are, who they think you are, and therefore you want something that might not even be yours. How do you know if that's true? You go within. All the answers you want are within you. They're not out there. Out there is a perception. We look at the same tree and we see a different thing. We see a tree. You may think it's the most beautiful tree in the world. I may think it's overgrown and needs cutting down. We're seeing the same thing, but we see it in a different way. So the answer is never out there. And that perception of that tree that we see out there is inside of us. So it's always within us. It's never out there. If you're looking out there, you're doomed to be buffeted like a ship in the storm out at sea without a rudder. You take control of the exterior by controlling the interior. And that's not wishy-washy philosophy or woo-woo. That's quantum physics, hardcore theoretical science. Now, I've got an incredible amount of content in front of me, and I can bring any of it to you. But understand this. When we talk about who you are inhabiting two different lives simultaneously. Okay? In one world, this physical world, you live as an individualized person, separate from everything, right? You're raising a family, you're going to work, you're creating relationships with people, you're interacting with other individualized people, right? Everything is separate. Everything works by cause and effect. That's one world you inhabit. But then there's another world, right? There's another world in which you are a powerful, infinite energy system. and you're vibrating in this vast field of energy, of infinite power, of potentiality, as the quantum physicists call it. And you have a foot in both sides, the denser side of matter and the less dense, faster, higher vibration side of energy or light. So you are a light being that has slowed down and packed itself into more dense vibration so you can interact in this 3D world. But you are a being of light, and you still have all the capabilities that that light being has. And you can bring those capabilities into this world if you choose to, but only if you know who you are. So I ask you again the question, who are you? Do you know who you are? I suggest you get a pen and a piece of paper and get writing on that one. Or sit down quietly in silence and go within and ask that question, who am I? And if you sit for long enough, in enough silence, you will discover exactly who you are. And when you do, there'll be no stopping you. So don't believe anything I say. Remember, very important, go off and do your own study with it, sit with it, see if it rings true for you. In all thy knowing, know thyself. Really get to grips with who and what you are, and love unconditionally, which is really difficult. And you know why it's difficult? Because there's so much noise around today. There's so many opportunities for you to be distracted. There's so many opportunities for you to lose your focus. There's so many opportunities to pull you out of the world of the light into the world of the dense, right? And keep you firmly entrenched there, believing that you're separate from everything and all things, not realizing that you are actually energy vibrating at an incredibly high rate with all the knowledge, all the information, all the power that you'll ever need. You already have everything you need. How can you not? You're connected to everything. There is nothing you are not connected to in this world, and all the worlds, if you really want to go deep. The one thing that stops you living the life that you want to live is that you don't believe it. You don't know who you are. And until you work that out, until you understand and connect to this vast energy web of information, of potentiality, you're going to be stuck where you are right now. So as Mona said, you don't focus on that which is what you haven't got. If you're after more abundance, you don't focus on the end. That's not the way I put it, actually. You're not to focus on the money, right? Because if you focus on not having money and you want more money, what you're saying to the universe is, I have no money. And the universe only knows abundance because it's an infinite web of potentiality. All possibilities exist at the same time in all interspaces in the universe. If you don't believe that there's not abundance, go and try and count how many blades of grass there are in the park. You'll be there for quite some time. We are dealing with infinite abundance in all aspects. That's all nature knows. And that's how the universe is set up, for an expression of infinite abundance, right? We use abundance in terms of its physical equivalent at the moment, i.e. money. But as we spoke about earlier, it can be used for bartering. It can be used for an exchange of value. It can be exchanged for favors. Once you say you don't have, the universe gives you more of don't have, because the universe only knows one thing. You are the universe. Experience it itself in an individuated form, in a denser universe, in a denser world, if you like. So what you have to do is pull yourself away from that and be for what you want, right? And the key to it, and this is a great question, a fabulous question, is what are you being? currently. See, I'm a big fan of Taoist philosophy. I don't know if you've ever read the Tao Te Ching. It's an 81 verse book on Taoist philosophy, ancient Chinese philosophy, that was penned by a very mysterious old man called Lao Tzu way back about 500 years before the birth of Christ. And in this incredible philosophical treatise, Lao Tzu espouses with incredible unerring accuracy how the universe works. So much so, it's almost like a precursor to quantum physics. It really is incredible stuff. And he goes on and on and on about the paradox of the universe, and how it's almost laughably funny how it works. And it's very counterintuitive, right? So the big paradox of this universe when it comes to creating, when it comes to manifesting, and if I'm honest with you, from my own personal point of view, I don't really like to use the terms manifestation and creation, because I understand it as I see it. It's more of a demonstration, because the universe gives you not what you want, not what you desire, but who you are being. So you need to demonstrate that which you want in order to get it in your existence. Because once you are being a certain vibration, those same vibrations that are attracted to you, you're on that level, you start to notice them if you're open to seeing them. And you can do an exercise. You can do an amazing, easy, quite amusing exercise to check this out. Decide next time you want to change a car, for instance, right? Let's say you want to change your car for a white Tesla, right? Tesla Model X, let's say. I'll just throw that in there. Okay, so you make a conscious, definite decision that you want a Tesla Model X. Guess what you start seeing everywhere? You start seeing Tesla Model X's everywhere. Where were they before? Have they just appeared? No, they were there before, but because you hadn't made a definite decision that you wanted one, a part of your brain called the RAS, the reticular activating center, which filters information from your vast storehouse of subconscious into your less vast storehouse, the conscious, you wouldn't have noticed it. But now that you've said it's important to you, your subconscious goes, okay, it's important to us, let's feed it into the conscious mind. So you're now consciously aware of it, whereas before you weren't. This is why it's very, very important to know who you are and then know what you want, because that which you want is already here. You're just not seeing it. You're just not aware of it. So you need to become aware of what's going on around you based on who you are and what you want.
Oh, we've got a question actually. If I can interrupt, so this is amazing. Sure. I'm chilling out here going, yes, 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 yes. All this is awesome stuff. But Yaz has asked, she said, do you use your imagination to leap to another timeline? And I think this is really a really good question, because you just mentioned something then about a lot of people think about this manifestation, about thinking about it. You said, you know, that about the Tesla. It's not just about that vibration. It isn't just about saying it, is it? You've got to feel it. So can you just talk a little bit about that from the quantum point of view, about actually it's the vibration of feeling, it's the vibration of belief, not thought, because that's where a lot of people get mixed up.
I think, thanks for the question. Who said the question? Sorry, Marcus?
It was Yaz.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thanks for the question. It's a great question, a fantastic question. Thank you very much for that. I think one of the classics of the personal development world is Think and Grow Rich, right? By Napoleon Hill. I like the book. I think it's got some great stuff in it. But I think it misses a few things, as a lot of these books do. I mean, let's be honest. You know, you can come at so many different angles to this that it's really difficult to get it all in one book. But possibly for me, I think that book would have been better if it said Feel and Grow Rich, right? Because I think we're more in a feeling universe than a thinking one. But that said, let's not underestimate the powers of thought. And I talk about it in something I call your mental atmosphere, right? So your mental atmosphere is the summation of what you think, what you say, how you act, and what you feel. So these 4 elements all create this mental atmosphere, which are powerful pulses of energy that go out into this quantum field and ring it, because it's all harmony, right? So these vibrations are felt across time and space. Right now, here's the interesting thing when you said about different timelines. According to some very erudite scientists, Einstein included, there is no such thing as time. Time is measured by the passing of consciousness through an experience. But because we are in this 3D world, because we are dense, slowed down packets of light, of information, of energy, we experience that passing as 1 second to another. So we call it time. But in reality, it doesn't exist because time is malleable. Einstein proved this in his general relativity, right? The faster you go, the slower time goes. So if I shoot out for 5 years going near the speed of light on a rocket, turn around and come back, you've aged 10 years, I aged 1 year, right? So who's right and who's wrong? It seems the same time to us, but the timeline's been distorted. And the timeline's been distorted because the quantum world is non-local. And what that means is it has no place, no location in space and no time in space, right? So a subatomic particle, which is both a particle and a wave, which exists here and there and nowhere at the same time, can appear anywhere at any time without traveling between the spaces. This starts to get really, really funky, right? Really, really tricky.
Can I just say, if anybody's getting, I get this, right? So if anybody's going #mind blown, just put it in there, because when we start getting this deep, it starts to get really, really cool. So I'm geeking out on all of this. I get what you're talking about. Some people might not, but yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. And it was once described that quantum physics isn't only stranger than you think, it's stranger than you can think. And that's really because when we're dealing with the infinite, when we're dealing with the whole package, the whole universe, let's call it God, for instance. You can call it what you want: consciousness, spirit, infinite intelligence, or the quantum field. I don't care. Call it what you want, right? It doesn't mind, right? It doesn't care, right? But here's the thing: when you're dealing with that, you're dealing with the finite, right? You're dealing with the infinite. Sorry, not the finite. We have a finite understanding. We have a finite conscious brain, right? So we cannot possibly comprehend all that's going on. It's an impossibility. How can something with a finite constrained border understand something that's infinite with no border? You just can't. So if it is non-understandable, that's fine.
Yeah, you know what? I think the best way, because I know we just tipped over time, and again, this could go on for hours, but I think maybe we can summarize that, which is something that I have a lot with my clients, is that we anchor ourselves, and that's a word that we anchor ourselves to the past because that's our map. We know what the past looks like. So we tend to be in those cycles. I know Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this, about we're in those cycles of the knowing. So if we just use the knowing, then we're clearly just going to, if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. It's in the not knowing. So we can talk about quantum theory because that's what it is, because we can't in this reality experience it. No. Now I'm lucky enough that I've experienced absolute consciousness, so I get that. So when I work with clients, if that happens to them, it's amazing. And if anybody's actually had that, you'll know what it doesn't think. You can't explain it. And I think what you're saying is we know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. And when we let go of what we know and bring in the possibility of knowing what we don't know, actually that is when we start to create.
Yeah, but that's scary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, letting go is scary. Like we like to have control. That's how we're conditioned. But there's power in not having it. There's power in letting it go and turning that over to something far more powerful than yourself.
Yeah. So just to wind up then, because there's some absolute diamonds here that you said, so I've really enjoyed this. If you were going to give somebody a tip, if they were going to go away today, what would your top tip be to get that vibration raised, to start to bring the stuff in, even if they're lacking, they're not too sure, what would your easy top tip be to take away today?
If you're struggling, if you have a low vibration, if you're feeling stuck or lost, I'll give you a little exercise you can do. 3 things. 1, write up to 10 things you're grateful for. Could be anything. That's number 1. 2, sit in silence with spirit for 5 to 10 minutes and see what comes up. Right? 3, send love unconditionally to someone or something that's vexing you. Do that every day and see how you get on.
Yeah, actually, if you struggle with that, there's something called the 6-phase meditation. Vishen Lakhani did something called the 6-phase meditation, which is very similar. So if you're struggling to remember what Paul's just said, just look up the 6-phase meditation, and that works. Honestly, what Paul's telling you is it's free, and and then bring in the breath. Notice your breath while you're doing that. Honestly, game changer, and this is all free stuff, everybody. This is gold, and it works. We know it works. Every single person on this call tonight will tell you it works, and it doesn't cost you a thing. It doesn't cost you a thing.
Oh, Paul, I absolutely love that. I was sitting here and I was like eager to just keep on interrupting you. I thought, no, shut up, Joanna, just chill. But
thank you.
Amazing. And I can literally throw a stone at you, which is just amazing.
I know, right? Please don't, but yeah, amazing.
Thank you so much. That was
You're welcome.
intriguing. It was
You're
brilliant.
Welcome. So